This is Authentic Analysis with AI
and K,
where we'll be discussing the most controversial crime cases from across the globe,
as well as other important topics. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe.
If you are looking for affordable, quality, natural, or dramatic eyelashes, please head over to Instagram at live_n_lash.
So today we're going to be talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Okay, do you know what? Yeah, I really don't know what it is, but I had this real fascination with serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend a lot of my time watching documentaries and Netflix specials about crime. And for months on end, this guy's been asking me to watch The Act. I've been interested in the story about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I don't know why I'm still pointing at you, but so I don't know what it is, but I find it really hard to watch dramatisations of cases. So I decided to watch this, and all I say, if you're interested in crime, don't watch it because it's going to piss you off.
So I'm also interested in crime stories. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I heard this story first on the Red Handed podcast, which is a brilliant podcast, and they pretty much summarized it in about 45 minutes to an hour. And then I watched The Act, and then how much episodes is it?
It's 8 episodes.
About 8 episodes. And it was interesting seeing the visual of it, but now we're just going to give our opinion.
Have you watched a documentary? You haven't watched any documentary?
I've only watched the podcast and The Act. I haven't watched any documentaries. So the story is of a girl called Gypsy Rose Blanchard who grew up with her mum in which state in America?
Louisiana. No, they're from Louisiana.
Yeah. But they moved several times, didn't they? So.
Yeah, I can't remember the last state they ended up in. Yeah, I can't remember the last state they were in, but I know they were from Louisiana. Yeah, a girl, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and she lived with her mum, Dee Dee Blanchard, or Claudine, I think her name is.
Yeah. And
throughout the story, I guess they diagnosed the mum with having Munchausen
syndrome by proxy.
Yeah.
Which basically means that Munchausen syndrome is like hypochondria. Like you're hypochondriac. You're always thinking, oh, I'm sick and blah, blah, blah. But when it's Munchausen syndrome by proxy, you're always diagnosing someone else, normally a person that's really close to you, with diseases and ailments and problems.
And this is the first time I've heard of this disorder, I guess.
This syndrome, disorder, yeah.
I'm finding it a bit hard to... This might sound really ignorant, but I'm finding it really hard to sympathise with her because of how she is. But then again, I don't really know the full... how the whole disorder works or the mental illness works. So it's kind of hard for me to sympathise with her, but we'll go into that.
So at the beginning of the story, what's the first thing that stands out for you?
Yeah, episode 1 basically just introduces us to the characters. They moved from what state they lived in before in Louisiana, and they've moved to Wisconsin, and they've had this house, I think, built by Make-A-Wish Foundation. They built them this special house adapted to them. Yeah. And one of the neighbours that Dee Dee lived there was kind of unsure of her. And I think when you're watching it, sorry, I guess spoiler alert, when you're watching it, you're assuming that the neighbour was unsure of her because of how she was treating her daughter, but she'd watched her steal something from a mall, so she was kind of unsure of her from then. Yeah. And I guess she felt like she was trying to put on this act, which I feel like throughout the whole season, she's trying to be this kind of perfect mum. Yeah, yeah. Which was kind of creepy to me, but...
But she still had this like aura that she really loved her daughter, or maybe that she was just really overprotective of her sick daughter.
I agree, but I guess the series is trying to exaggerate it, so it's really hard to take the exaggerated events and the realistic events and trying to find the middle ground. Yeah,
because we don't know what really happened.
I don't know if it's going to be really relevant, but she said, so say if you're not using your legs for a certain amount of time, the muscles in your legs are not going to be as strong, or they're going to have a lot of mass. Her legs were pretty much, I guess, normal in a sense for someone that would be walking. Yeah. So I think the mum she knew in her head, like, I don't think it's anything subconscious, she knew that she had to hide it. So
yeah. But do you think she acknowledged the negative connotations or the negative aspect of what she was doing to her daughter, or do you think she was just saying
the negative in the sense how it was affecting the child, or
yeah,
everyone else
exactly,
was,
exactly, yeah, that.
Did she know?
Do you think she actually acknowledged that and was just like, oh, it's nothing, or she was just fixated on, oh, my child can't walk, or just in case my child can't walk, this is what I'm going to do for her to help her?
Excusing the wheelchair and her not being able to walk, that's one of the aspects of her. I'm going to take that out of the question, because to me, that was not necessary.
Yeah.
If we're talking about everything else, as in the medication and the feeding tubes, do I feel like she knew? Maybe not. Maybe she didn't really grasp the seriousness of what she could do and is really how it's affecting her child. But as I'm reading different forums and things like that, and she's supposedly, apparently, she's telling the dad or other people that Gypsy wasn't going to make it to the age of 20 or past her 20s. So what was going to be her plan if how events carried out? If it didn't go that way, what was going to happen to her child? What if her child had died because of all the medication she was given to her?
And in your defense, the way you're looking at it, she would pretend that the child was younger. Why do you need to do that? If you really believed your child was sick, then you would just say, oh, my child's sick, she's 13, now she's 14, now she's 15, but she's sick. Why would you make her look younger?
Or keep her younger,
yeah.
Because her getting to 18 was like, well, I'm jumping forward a little bit, but they were keeping it to a point where her Dee Dee was trying to keep it to a point where Gypsy was not reaching 18. She was trying to prolong it as long as possible because go on.
Yeah, because as an adult, you're in charge of your own self. So she wanted it, I feel like she wanted it to be like, I'm still in charge of you, that was one. But
was that out of love, do you think, or do you think that's out of just being
I definitely think that was
control?
I definitely think that was a manipulative side of her. And there was one point where there was a competition and she was too old for that specific competition, or she was too old for that specific benefit. She realized that she wasn't sick, and then she's playing along with it.
Okay.
So she's almost.
So when do you think she started playing along with it?
That's really hard to say. But just like she knew she could eat sweets, she knew she wasn't. She knew she wasn't allergic to sweets anymore. So times like that where she was discovering herself, learning how to get onto the internet and learning how to do things. But those things, I feel like, were conniving things. Independence is washing your own clothes, booking your own.
Don't say hotel because you've done that.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say holiday, but that's pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean, not to give the mum too much credit, but for not taking her to school and whatnot, her linguistic skills were really quite good.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
I don't know if there's something that they're missing out, but for someone not to go to school and have all these issues, she seems really, her brain was really
advanced.
developed.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about, I'd say advanced. She was on par, kind of.
Yeah. I just feel like there was a time where she wasn't definitely independent, but she was quite manipulative and conniving.
But they say that she learned that from her mum, which
exactly.
People are saying that she shouldn't be in jail right now. Okay, you got the people that are saying that she shouldn't be in jail, she should be free. So everyone would reach out to Kim K. Then you got the ones that are saying that she should be in a mental institution to rehabilitate herself before she comes back out. Because I don't really disagree with that. Because to be honest, if she did come back out, because I think she's got another 5 years left of her sentence, and she could come out before that. She could. It's bad to say, but if she's used to manipulating people to get what she wants, how do we not know it could be a repeat? Not intentionally,
but
she might repeat that behaviour. And how is she going to adjust? I don't think, seeing how she is, I don't think she's going to find it hard to adjust.
I don't think she'll find it hard to adjust, because she seemed to make friends really easily.
But then at the same time, the fact that they're saying she was engaged, and now the engagement's off, was she? I don't want to say this about her, but we don't know the reasons why she was engaged and why she called it off. I mean, people can say, it could be for commissary. So, but I think now that she's out of that abusive situation, I don't think there'll be a reason for her to be manipulative again. Well, I hope not, but
I kind of agree with her being in a mental institution, because her mum was definitely there wasn't something right, and if you grow up with that, surely that will impose on you and reflect on you. So whether she's diagnosed as mad or not, I feel like she should be given the benefit of the doubt. Not mad, I don't want to say mad, but
Yeah.
Mentally unstable.
Yeah. But when I was asking you, I said, do you have more sympathy because the mum, I guess, has a disorder?
Yeah.
So when do we stop this? Because say if she got that from her mum, I'm not sure, because they showed the grandma.
Yeah.
And the grandma was being like not allowing her to mother Gypsy, but she was always trying to take over.
Yeah.
So when is the cut off the point? When do we say, okay, this is someone's fault now? Because are we going to blame the grandma?
Yeah, you do raise a good point.
Okay, fair enough. People are saying that Gypsy. Okay, like before I had watched the act, it took me a really long time to watch it.
Yeah.
And so when me and you were speaking, you had asked me, do I feel like, or you said to me when Nicholas went to jail, if it was another situation or another person, the murder might not have happened.
Yeah.
And now that I've watched it, I do feel like I have a lot more sympathy for Nicholas.
Yeah.
Than I do Gypsy. But this is me going off of the act more so than
anything else.
But either way, I don't think it's just the act actually, because when I watched Gypsy be in which was in the room with the detectives,
Yeah.
and they told her that her mother was deceased, she had put an act straight away.
Yeah.
So that's when I stopped feeling sorry for her. So it was right at the end of the docuseries, whatever it's called. That's when I stopped feeling sorry for her, because from her to not to just say she was going to admit what happened.
Yeah.
She just kind of threw him under the bus.
Yeah. And that was wrong. I felt like I didn't sympathise with her after that, because it's any situation, whether it's gangster or not, if you say you're going to do something, you stick with that person, or you say nothing, and then she ended up snitching on him
and they tried their cases separately.
Yeah. So yeah.
And I know it was like the lawyer trying to say, okay, we need to talk about the medical records and what your mum was doing to try and get you out of this.
Yeah.
And I didn't really hear much of the abuse coming from Gypsy. So I'm not sure if Gypsy feels like she wasn't, I don't know, because she said when you're in that situation so long, it doesn't feel like abuse, it feels like normality. So I'm not really sure if Gypsy feels like she's being abused. But if she doesn't feel abused, now I'm not sure, is the murder even justified anymore then?
Yeah.
Whether or not the murder was justified, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah.
But maybe, not just for me, but I really feel like her mum put her through a lot of abuse.
Yeah.
Because abuse can be anything small scale. It can be emotional, it can be anything. So I really don't understand how else it was going to go in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you're subjecting, she was subjecting her to be like put her in a wheelchair and to lie from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know in what world or whatever, you're not really teaching her any morals to go out and you need to work hard for this and that. You're just basically teaching her you need to lie to get what you want.
Yeah.
And Gypsy had to go through all the pain. It was easy for her because she just had to lie.
Yeah.
She didn't have to go through extensive surgeries and and missing out on making friends or whatnot. She had the chance to grow up. Well, not grow up, but Dee Dee had the chance to get married to someone. Well, I know Gypsy's dad, he said when they were married at the time, he was 17 and Dee Dee was 24.
Yeah.
So it was like, Dee Dee got to live her life and get married and meet someone, but she didn't give her daughter any
opportunity
to ever do that.
Yeah.
Only aspect for me would be, if Dee Dee was still alive, would she ever feel apologetic about this, or would this be something that she would carry on?
I think probably in her old age, maybe she'd be apologetic.
She might see it as wrong.
Yeah. But it's such a unique case of abuse, because normally abuse comes in the form of like blatant, obvious aggression.
Yeah.
But the abuse came in the form of love.
Yeah. But then isn't that like how when you have domestic violence and someone says, "Oh, I hit you because I love you."
Yeah.
But then I feel like you can distinguish that no matter what they say, that's not love. But with her,
Exactly.
but you're agreeing with me, but I feel like you don't agree with me.
No, I'm agreeing with you. Sorry, what is it? The point?
Because
what point?
you can see the love in the case of between Gypsy and Dee Dee, but if it was domestic violence, would you say, yeah, if they said I hit you because I love you, could you really say
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I said it was a unique case of abuse.
Oh, okay.
So like with every other type of abuse, with most other types of abuse, it's quite obvious. Sexual is a different one, but that's a different subject.
Yeah.
But mental abuse, shouting at someone and manipulating them, it's kind of obvious that shouldn't be being done to you, but it seemed like she was looking after her. It was a nurturing sort of
It's in a twisted way.
But what it actually was smothering
in the act. And I've heard Gypsy say, she said that her mum used to chain her to the bed.
Wow.
When she was disobeying her.
Yeah.
And she said she used to beat her with coat hangers.
Oh wow.
I mean, maybe some kids have been beaten by coat hangers and it's not classed as abuse.
Yeah. Come on, you must have been beaten by a coat hanger at least.
No, coat hanger, no. There's a lot of things I'll admit, but coat hanger was definitely not one of them. And how do you do it?
Just
Like,
to declare, my mum never beat me with a coat hanger. Just belts and slippers, no.
just the usual.
Okay, so let me ask you this: how much of Dee Dee's, the mum's, antics were as a result of her Munchausen syndrome by proxy?
How many?
Yeah, like what percentage was Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and what percentage was I'm just gonna rinse this situation and manipulate the situation? Do you think? Yeah.
Because I'm going off of the act as well, so it's hard to say. I didn't really see the sympathy element of her trying to get sympathy from other people. I just felt like it was more of a money thing.
Yeah.
And trying to get somewhere to stay, because she kept saying, she kept saying to Gypsy, don't do this and don't do that, is to be careful because that means we're gonna have to move again. So she was worried about finding somewhere to settle.
Yeah.
So I didn't really see her trying to gain sympathy from other. Was she trying to gain sympathy? I don't know, they were focusing more on her trying to control her child.
Yeah.
More than, so if the Munchausen syndrome is talking about trying to get, the attention aspect was a big factor, but the sympathy aspect, I didn't really see her trying to gain sympathy from other people that much.
Yeah.
Until she felt like she was being threatened.
Yeah.
Like her secret being threatened, I guess.
Yeah.
Because do you remember, I know this is really off topic, but do you remember when they were singing the Michael Jackson I'll Be There?
Yeah.
I was like, how dare you bring Michael into this? But when I watched the real version of them doing that, she didn't even sing that song.
Oh.
she sang another song. I know it's really irrelevant, but I thought that was supposed to be an important part of it, but it weren't.
Yeah.
So, a lot of things were for attention, because she was taking her to a lot of... The only time she let her kind of somewhat be a bit independent when she was taking her to the conventions.
Yeah.
But even then, she's trying to keep her childlike, because she put on this outfit and she said, it's a bit tight, put on something else. And I don't know if you remember this, but it was a time of the month.
Yeah.
And it ran down her leg, and the mum said, this happens once a month, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
And then she started smiling. So
the mum started smiling?
Not the mum, Gypsy started smiling.
Okay. So you think that was her manipulating her mum?
I don't know what that was. I didn't really get that part of the scene. I don't know what that part was really about. So I don't know. It kind of just came back up to me.
Yeah.
But to go back to what you asked me, I think percentage-wise, maybe 30% was the syndrome, and the rest of it was her just being manipulative.
Yeah.
And I don't think, based on the documentary, a lot of Dee Dee's family just weren't on her side, even that they were saying that they threw her ashes under the toilet because they just said that she wasn't a good person. So I think Gypsy was her last hope.
Yeah.
So once if Gypsy went off and lived her life, who was she gonna have? But then again, I don't know how it was in real life, but the way they showed it in the act, it seemed like she was making a good group of friends in that neighbourhood. So I don't understand why. I don't know if she was worried that if Gypsy was gone, how she could fend for herself.
Yeah. Like she led the sexual.
Where do you learn to be sexual from?
The internet.
Okay. They didn't
because she was clearly quite good with the laptop.
Yeah, okay, maybe they're not going to show, I don't think they will show that in depth, but they were just showing her being into romance than into being sexual stuff.
Yes.
I'm not saying that she didn't learn from that, I was just really surprised.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, she had the computer there and she would have been doing her little... I mean, remember, she's stuck in her own little world. So she would have been more explorative. No, that's not a word. She would have explored more with that computer than the average child would have.
But how?
Being that she was isolated.
I know we're going off the whole sexual topic, but when they were showing her sneaking out of the room, it was times when she would sneak out and the mum would hear her. But I don't know if when the mum developed the high blood pressure, because the mum was taking the sleeping tablets, I don't know if that means that knocked her out completely, because you realise the mum was sleeping in Gypsy's bed a lot of the time. Yeah. That just, to me, that was just like, she was so worried about what her child was going to do, like leave her, that she was sleeping in her bed up until this age. Yeah. And the other point, because now that you mentioned that proves that she was being manipulative, is the sleepy baby pills. Yeah. Like, of sleepy baby. It's like, these are pills that are going to make my child sleepy, and then when the social worker came to the house, she gave her the sleepy pills to make her create that act that she was all drowsy and sick. I was really annoyed the fact that because I was glad when whether this happened for real or not, but I'm just going based off this. If this did happen, when the social worker came over and she was really like, she wasn't really interacting with the mum, she was being really like focused on what she was trying to do, I was really happy. But then when she spoke to Gypsy and she, because of the state that she was in due to the medication, she just said, oh, she's in that childlike one. I was just wishing that something would have just popped out for her to be like, something's not right here. But I guess when you're good at lying, you can hide it. But just the fact, I know we're sorry going off topic about this whole sexual, but the fact that she was able to hide it for all those years. And I guess, okay, well, none of us are doctors or we're not lawyers, but if this was you and you was in the office and something to you wasn't right, is it for you to say that child should be in a wheelchair? Because
what, in that particular moment, or just in general?
Maybe in general, if you had come across Gypsy as a doctor or a specialist or whatever.
It's a good question, because there was one of the doctors that was like, well, she's 18 now, so she gets to make her own mind, and she was trying to push for Gypsy to make her own mind, I think, simply because she knew that Gypsy shouldn't have been in the situation that she was in. So I think, it is the authorities' responsibility to investigate the case, or at least get the right authorities to be looking at the situation.
But it's just the fact that nobody was able to see nothing was wrong.
But she manipulated her child's age, so
a lot of times, I know she said she lost a lot of stuff in Hurricane Katrina. I don't know if that included a birth certificate, because
of course she lost the birth certificate.
I don't know how it works, but I feel like in the UK you need a form of ID, which is, so say for your child you need a birth certificate or a passport before maybe a lot of things are carried out. So I'm kind of lost at the fact that nobody asked for any other proof of
how could she fake her child's age? How did she even get away with that?
Because they were going off her word a lot of the times, and then a lot of the medical records and stuff they were saying is what the mum said, not what
was actually proven from evidence.
But to go back to the whole sexual aspect, to me, I guess I was kind of surprised. But then again, it could be fictitious, so it might not be as they were saying. Yeah,
that toilet scene in the cinema, do you think that happened, or do you think that was dramatized?
I think it was dramatized, because I'm not really 100% sure. Going off topic again, but Nicholas's mum, I would like to see what she said about the whole thing, because I know she was she wasn't happy because she felt like her son was being manipulated, because if he's never done anything like this before. So they were talking about how Nicholas was outside at McDonald's or something, and he was masturbating for about 9 hours watching pornography. And I tried to link that to this case, which to me wasn't really fair. Because unless they were trying to say, because I remember the detective was saying, did you commit necrophilia? And he said, no, I don't do that. So I don't know if they were trying to link that to trying to make that a motive of the crime instead.
It doesn't have any bearing on the case, apart from not definitely not legally, but as people trying to analyze his state of mind, it shows what type of person he is.
Yeah.
Like, number one, that you'd masturbate in public, and then number two, that you would stay there that long.
Yeah.
Shows your state of mind, that you have no like self-awareness or awareness of how other people see yourself.
Because clearly something can't be right if you're doing something like that. So
Yeah.
they're kind of proving the point that he's not.
Not stable.
Yeah. So when you ask me, do you think that scene was real? Would his mum let him go? I don't know. I don't know how his mum trusted. Would her mum let him take lots of trips back and forth to another state? And just to go to a cinema.
But the act mentioned, no, sorry, the act didn't mention, but you're saying it mentioned it in the documentary. In a podcast I listened to about it, that was a integral part of the case, because it has a police record. So he definitely was on his own masturbating in public. So she clearly did let him go out on his own.
But when he was masturbating in public, I'm not saying she didn't let him out, because obviously he was working at a pizza shop, he had other jobs, but I'm saying to go to another state. Why are you laughing?
Because that's extra shade on him. First of all, he masturbated in public. Second of all, he masturbated for 9 hours. And then thirdly, his mum was on the seat behind him.
No, she wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. I know she wasn't. But
he might not have been masturbating for 9 hours, he might have just been there for 9 hours.
yeah, but what I'm saying is, can we assume that his mum wasn't there?
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong, but there's a difference between going for 9 hours in a McDonald's down from the street,
And a
as
difference
opposed to
between
going on a bus,
yeah.
going to another state.
Yeah.
If she's saying that he's got a child, like,
Minds, yeah.
Yeah. could be wrong, but I felt like there were certain times where he felt like he wasn't sure if this was the right thing, because he kept saying, well, he's referring to Victor, and he said, Victor would do this, but I don't know what the good side was called, but I just said a good side with Nicholas.
This was his dual personality.
Yeah. So he said, I have to tap into Victor, and it wasn't like he could do that straight away.
Yeah. And that's quite another important part, because we never talked about his dual personality. So he needed to tap into another darker side of himself in order to do these things.
Yeah.
And then we don't know. What if he actually did say, no, I don't want to do this? We don't know.
And it's true, we don't.
You know, and he could have said, no, I don't want to do this, and then she
Convinced him.
yeah. This is where I'm confused, because was he fully 100% manipulated, or was it like, you know what, I'm down with this, kill her mum, me and her can live happily ever after?
But is anyone ever, minus children, 100% manipulated?
Yeah, I agree. It's part of you that wants to do it, whether it was introduced for you or you were inspired, but there's part of you that must want to do it. You wouldn't say, like, somebody wouldn't ask you to do something so atrocious, you know, like, I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it for you. I don't think any human, but
is that to do with
his mental capacity, exactly.
I think maybe because of your mental capacity as well, you know that the risk, if you get caught, that's it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe because you got more to lose, I don't know, he was more dependent.
Yeah. But this is what I'm saying. So yeah, we can't paint with the same brush as someone who doesn't have a mental disability. And so was that the final straw, or the icing on the cake that got him to do it?
I think there's a lot of factors that play into it. You know, if you haven't, that's your first relationship, was that the first girl that he's been with? So you kind of gonna go with what, but then again, it just goes to show he's going with what she's saying. And to me, it seemed like they planned a lot of things out. Minus,
did they plan it, or did she plan it?
Okay, she planned it, because obviously she bought the knife.
She bought the knife. She orchestrated that whole situation.
How he was going to come, what time.
Yeah, exactly.
She might have booked the bus tickets to get there. Okay,
yeah. There's a saying that says a student becomes the master, and I think that's what happened. She was the student of her mother, and then she became the master. She was able to get rid of her mother and manipulate this guy.
That's it, and now it's a student.
Exactly.
And he can't even carry on now because he's in jail.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate on all sides, because you know, one person's dead,
Two people in prison.
Well, one's going to come out soon.
Yeah.
And you know how we're in this time period where everything's like really sensationalized, everything's by the media.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the lady that created this whole docu-series, she was saying how the story initially just looked like, oh, someone pretends to be disabled and they murder a woman. It looked like a story that was really made for the media.
Right.
So now that they're following Gypsy for the past few years, and now it's coming back up again because she's got a series about her, you never know, in the time that she comes back out, she might have a life set out for her.
Yeah.
They might be ready to cast a whole reality TV show about her.
Yeah.
And this guy's sitting in jail still, watching her from the inside.
Yeah.
The only part I didn't understand, the whole putting the evidence into an envelope and mailing it to yourself. I didn't understand where they were going with that. Oh, the whole mailing it, because he said, why don't we just throw it by the lake? And then she said no. Either she said no, or it was during the day.
I really don't understand the mailing it to yourself, because you get rid of it and then it comes back to you. So,
but I don't know if where they're going to mail it. Were they going to mail it to themselves?
Oh, somewhere else from where they did the crime.
The whole thing didn't make any sense to me.
That makes more sense than mailing it to where you did the crime.
And then when they were there, she said to him, this is based on the act again, she said, oh, we can't leave her there, someone needs to find her. So they wrote that Facebook status.
Yeah.
That made no sense. Why did someone need to find her? I know that sounds deep, but were they trying to...
But that's where I saw a conflict, because she was like, oh, she didn't verbally say I don't think she verbally said I hate my mum, but she clearly wanted her mum to die. There's no doubt about that. She clearly wanted her mum to die.
I think, but she changed her mind.
You think she changed her mind?
When she realised how serious and the life wasn't going as to the romantic life that she thought.
Changing your mind, are you saying changing your mind is exactly the same as regret, or do you think they're two different things? Because if you're saying she regretted it, I'll agree with you. But if you're saying she changed her mind, I don't think she changed her mind. I think she regretted doing it. I think they're two different things.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think she did regret it, like you said, because it wasn't going the way that she planned.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, oh, I've got remorse now. I don't think there was any remorse.
But she did show, when she got into, she didn't come up with this whole, well, my mum abused me and that's why I did this. She came from being very other than the lies, but she came really sympathetic. So maybe that's why people felt sorry for her. She didn't come with a, oh, I had a reason to do. She come really remorseful from the beginning, and she kept reiterating the fact that my mum loved me, she cared for me, and I love my mum too. I don't know why, but I mean...
Was that in her defence when she was saying that she didn't kill her mum, though, or was that when she was admitting to killing her mum?
She was just saying this as a whole, not in defence. I'm just talking about her answering anything, just in a whole. She just kept saying the fact that...
I think that's a ploy. Because, oh, no, I love my mum. I have no motive to kill my mum. I think that was part of the manipulation.
Okay, fair enough. I don't disagree.
Does it make sense that she wanted her mum dead, but she still wanted her mum to have a good burial? Does that make sense, or does that not make sense? Because remember, we were just talking about the fact that she wanted her mum to be found. So part of that, I'm thinking, is it just that she wanted her mum to have a proper burial?
I can't...
If you wanted someone dead, would you care about how they were buried?
And why did you want them to find out so quick? Like... I don't know if it might be a bit, I'm thinking too far ahead, but is it like, did she want to get caught thinking that she would give you off the hook and he wouldn't? Because I don't understand, why would you... Maybe they're not really clued up on the whole technology thing, but the whole texting each other about doing a murder, I thought that was like the #1 rule. You don't talk about this over...
Yeah.
And you... done a Facebook status, knowing that they could trace back to where you were. You didn't even try and get away first. So I don't really understand why she was so eager. Yeah.
So let's talk about the Facebook status. What was it that she wrote on Facebook?
Okay, so one of the statuses is still there. The first one was that is dead.
Right.
And there was a whole load of comments. Right, I was even still reading this like.
So it was from whose Facebook?
It was from the mum and the daughter's Facebook. They shared together.
They shared a Facebook, and so she wrote that she's dead, referring to her mum. Yeah. So who was she expecting to read this, and who was she expecting people to read it and think that it was from? This is what I don't understand. Okay, so from what I'm understanding, when I watched the documentary, the man was saying that Gypsy orchestrated it. Whether she's the one that physically typed it, she orchestrated for that
that status to be typed up.
You're right.
Whether it came from Nicholas saying that she done it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think a lot of the facts, sorry I'm going off topic quickly, but a lot of the facts I think they're getting it from Nicholas because he's pretty honest in what he says.
Right, yeah.
But the emotional side on why certain things are done, they're getting it from her.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second status said, I don't remember word for word, but something about, I don't want to say the R word. He said, or whatever was typed was saying, oh, he killed that.
Sorry, does anyone else know what the R word is?
Okay. Well, he said he killed that effing fat pig, and then he said, oh, I've committed a sexual assault against the daughter.
Oh, 4-letter R word. Okay, yeah, cool.
He committed a sexual assault against the daughter, maybe LOL or ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But that status is off the. I don't know why they've kept the page up.
Yeah.
Because it's now a remembrance page.
Right.
So I just don't. Maybe it's the fact that she knew.
Zuckerberg wants his money, and that's why the page is still up. Sorry.
But I think it's a thing where she knew if no one was going to go check on her. Well, okay, no, that's a lie. No, actually, because the act was based on her, it was fictional. I don't know if she had neighbours or not, but would the neighbours go and check on her or not?
Okay. I don't, that's a good question. But I'm just thinking, if it was me trying to be manipulative, right? I would write something like, hey, Mum, haven't spoken to you in a long time. Are you okay? Not dead.
Yeah, so then maybe either way, someone else would have commented and said, oh, have you met... Like, people might find it weird because they're normally always together.
Yeah. They didn't log on to somebody else's Facebook. They did it from their own Facebook. Like, and that was supposed to help the mum get discovered. So in conclusion, do you think sentencing was unfair?
It was very unfair. I'm actually really shocked. The fact that she's technically only got 5 years left or less than that. I'm not negating the fact that she's been through a lot of abuse because it is actually, it was a lot. Yeah. Whether some of it was fictitious or not, she had a feeding tube. Like, forget anything else, she had a feeding tube. To me, that's just like, your mum's still bathing you, your mum's shaving your head, your mum gets all your teeth extracted, and then don't even give you give you some new teeth to make you feel good about yourself. To let you hang out with people, to kind of cut you off from the world. But 10 years, I do feel maybe she should have spent some time in a mental institution. Even
maybe him too then.
Huh?
Maybe the boy too, the boyfriend.
But he didn't suffer any abuse though.
But he's clearly he's got mental problems.
But I don't think someone with autism, you put them in. That's like put someone with ADHD. You wouldn't. I don't know if I'm not.
Yeah, but if it was your condition that caused you to commit the crime,
then
I mean that's not proven. But I just think she couldn't have got anybody else to do this. That's honestly belief.
But I'm just looking at the fact that she suffered from lots of abuse, so she needs that different kind of care from maybe a mental institution to try and rehabilitate her mind to function like everyone else. But with him, I feel like he was functioning fine. He just got misled, and I feel like if he's not misled again, he would be okay.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know what the benefit. It's not like they can treat him out of him being autistic. That's someone they're going to be with.
Yeah.
I guess, and I don't know now. If she did go to a mental institution, would she be diagnosed with a syndrome or disorder? Do you think, or do you think?
Yeah.
Well, maybe PTSD, but.
Gypsy.
Yeah.
I think if she was analysed by a psychologist, they'd find a heck of a lot wrong with her.
And this time it wouldn't be from the mum.
Yeah. Do you think that her mum deserved to be killed? That's a yes, you paused.
No one deserves to die, but I'm basing off how I felt when I saw the series and the documentary that I've read. Killed is a bit far-fetched, but I feel like someone should have taken it away from her.
Yeah, but the system failed them.
So do you think that was the only way out?
No, I don't think that was the only way out.
You think she could have run away?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you blame Gypsy? She could have done more to try and get away.
Yeah, I don't think killing was the answer. I think she clearly had you know, enough sense to get a laptop, to, you know, manipulate herself into these situations and meet people, this, that and the third. I think she could have got a message out to maybe the doctor or somebody else that could have helped her. She could have run up, she literally succeeded in running away, at least for one night.
Yeah.
I think she could have achieved that again and been like, listen, my mum's mistreated me or whatever. I think killing her mum, yeah, it was a sort of it was a really malicious and coward's way out.
And but what, I don't know. And she didn't do it herself either.
Yeah, exactly.
And what made her feel comfortable to tell Nicholas and not any other guys that she might have spoken to?
Again, because I feel like
she knew.
Yeah.
But then I think, no, actually he did say, I think they asked him, does the gypsy know that you had the mental, so he's autistic? I think he said, yeah, she did know. Do you think Gypsy ever felt sorry that Nicholas had to spend all that time in jail? I think she was emotional about what happened for her mum and what's happening to her, but I don't really see much emotion when it comes to him.
But if the last thing we heard was that she was blaming him, she was sort of blaming him and saying, oh, he's done it, yeah. Orchestrated it.
Yeah.
If she's saying that, if that's the last thing she's saying, then she's still in, then she's still in denial.
She's still in denial, or is she's just passing the blame because she can? I don't think she's in denial.
You don't think she's in denial?
I think she knows that maybe there's a chance of her getting away more so than him.
But then if you can do that, then obviously you can't have any remorse.
Yeah, that's what I was asking you.
Yeah, so yeah. I don't think she does.
But no, I did, when I was watching the documentary, they did say, she said if he had better lawyers and better support from his family, he wouldn't have got such a long sentence. I don't know if I really agree with that, because fair enough, money, your status in society and what kind of person you are does play into the fact of maybe what kind of sentence you're going to get. But at the same time, to say, oh, if he had better support and better lawyers, and if they spoke about his mental illness, but his what he's suffering in life, then he would have got a lesser sentence. And I'm like, rah, like, because you didn't be honest, that didn't really help either. So I don't understand. We can't. It's like she's kind of throwing stones and hiding in her hands.
Yeah. I think Eminem's mum had Munchausen syndrome by proxy. I remember in his early albums, he used to talk about her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I never heard that.
And he
but
never killed her, so.
But she didn't put a feeding tube in him. She let him leave the house, maybe. So.
I mean, in all fairness, he had a big rap career, and so.
But Gypsy you never know what she could have done.
Yeah, she could have been the best white female rapper. Thanks for listening, and next time we'll be back with another case.